Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Hack the Class video podcast. I'm your host, Laura Williams, and this week I'm super stoked because I have invited Andrew Fenstermaker to join us today to kind of pick his brain about all his knowledge as it pertains to instructional design, instructional technology. He is a guru. I would say the only word that I could describe him at this moment is sort of a tech ninja, in that he knows how to break things apart and build them back up and build people up with them. So it's going to be interesting to tap his brain and see what is going on out there in the schools that he works for. He is an instructional tech coordinator. He is also an innovation coach. So he works with teachers every day. He helps coordinate things. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more from him. Also kind of cool, Andrew is the ITech, so Iowa Technology Education Connection Board of Directors president. So he runs a statewide conference here in Iowa. And so I'm kind of excited to just kind of see what motivates him and how he stays fresh in hacking the class. So any minute now, I can't wait to see Andrew.
Discover the future of education in this captivating docuseries that takes you inside modern classrooms. From innovative teaching methods to cutting-edge technologies, witness the transformative power of student-centered learning and the incredible impact it has on shaping the minds of tomorrow. Here is your host, Laura Williams.
All right, we have Andrew here on this week's episode. Andrew Fenstermaker, thank you for joining us. Maybe we should start out with you just kind of telling us like who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of unpack it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for inviting me to kind of chat through some things. I'm excited to be here. So Andrew Fenstermaker serves as the instructional technology coordinator for Iowa City schools. And so I guess prior to that, and then I'll unpack what does that actually mean? Because I get that a lot. Even people I work with every day, they're like,
Let's dig deep.
Yeah, remind me again what your official title is. I've played around with like master innovator or like problem solver, dojo or ninja, or just like what are the.
I told people ahead of time you were a tech ninja, so let's go with that.
All right, tech ninja, that's my new title. No, I love it. So I guess the background behind that, because some people are like, are you just tech or do you actually know how teaching works? And so my background before that was I started in a third grade. So I got hired halftime, third grade.
Whoa.
Special store, third grade, right? Yeah.
I did not know that. Anyway, keep going. Time out.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm going to bring it up. He is a past Hawkeye football player, punter?
Yeah, true story. Yeah, but if you ask my wife, I'm not an official football player because punters don't count apparently. So I never. Yeah, it's all right. So yeah, so actually,
third grade teacher. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so third grade teacher halftime. The other half that no one really knows is I was fixing appliances. So I was the Maytag repairman.
Cool.
So mornings, in the mornings I went and taught kids, and then in the afternoons I went and dealt with adults that were not happy about their appliances not working, and then I had to fix them. So lots of fun. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of layers that we could peel back behind that too, of just even how I met my wife from being the Maytag repairman. But anyways, that's another story, not education related, but in terms, follow up, episode 2. So after third grade, the following year, getting my foot in the door at that time was challenging. So I was blessed to have that halftime position. The following year, not necessarily what I envisioned going down that path, but first grade opened up. So 6 and 7-year-olds, first grade, here we come, right?
That's why first grader. I'm a mom.
That's why there's nothing left up here. Yeah, right. So so I taught. Yeah, that's why it's all gone, right? So taught first grade for 6 years. And then after teaching first grade, the position opened up to teach fifth grade. So I wanted to transition into that fifth grade role and try things out with fifth graders. Because really, when I taught first grade, I was really passionate about trying to push the envelope. Because a lot of times they said, yeah, littles can't do that. And I was like, yeah, watch here. And so even at that opportunity, we had, and this is a number of years ago, we're talking, this is probably 2010. 2011, right around that time frame, a little bit before that too. So I had kids, first graders, blogging. We had Kid Blog was the platform we used. So even back then, we had kids blogging. We were using Skype, and I actually uncovered this little hidden gem that everyone might appreciate viewing.
I totally want to see it.
It is not the greatest reflection, but this is my Skype R Us Google site that was created I did not even go back to see. This was created on the classic sites, and so now it's transitioned into the new sites. And I have not
Oh,
looked at this since a long time ago. But it was kind of like our goal was to Skype with all 50 states with the first graders, and so you can see we were able to chat with 17 states. We chatted with 22 different classrooms. We did talk with an author. And we actually talked at that time with Governor Branstad for he zoomed on or not Zoom, sorry, Skype. This is
Skype.
before Zoom. Yeah,
Skype.
right.
Yeah, what's Zoom?
Yeah. So you can see we had a list of different states there in the map. And so yeah, I pulled this little artifact out, dusted it off a little bit, and was like, oh wow, look at so it was really cool again with the kind of the goal with that was really how do I push envelope with what's possible for those first grade students and see what can we do to empower and amplify their voice. So now back to kind of the journey, right? So first grade, moved to fifth grade. As I moved to fifth grade, part of it was there were 3 male teachers in the elementary I was at, and
Right.
all 3 of us were fifth grade. So,
Oh,
so a team of male teachers, fifth grade. So it was
get
fun.
it on.
Having taught first grade, it was me and 3 other ladies that I taught with, which was a great opportunity to work and grow alongside of them, and then an opportunity presented itself to move up to fifth grade. So taught fifth grade for a handful of years, and then as others in the state of Iowa, we had a teacher leadership opportunity across the state to kind of put people in leadership positions that aren't traditionally in leadership positions. So they don't have an administrative degree, but they have an opportunity to kind of lean into their leadership potential. And so that opened up an opportunity to be at that time what was called, I call it an innovation coach. It's the technical term that we used was instructional design strategist with a focus of tech and innovation.
That's
So
a big, long thing to say.
I know, right? Yeah. So we just called ourselves IDS Innovation for short, or Innovation Coach.
Innovation.
So that actually, after teaching a couple years in fifth grade, that actually opened up. And so I was able to stay in the classroom halftime and then actually move into that instructional coaching role with a focus of tech and innovation.
I
And
love
so
that.
that in turn allowed me opportunities to now pivot to working with adults as opposed to students, but it also let me keep a foot in both spaces.
Yeah.
And then that allowed me to keep doing that for a few years. At that time, I made a decision of I either wanted to do full-time back in the classroom or full-time working with teachers, because I felt like I was doing a little bit of a disservice to my students,
Yeah.
because
You
even
pull it in different
though,
directions. Yeah.
yeah, so it became a little bit challenging to go different routes. And so at that time was the first time that I left the classroom. Definitely if others have done that or traveled that journey, it's definitely a questionable decision. It's like you're questioning, am I
Yeah,
doing
because you're
what's
like, I
right?
got into this for the kids.
Yep.
Like the
Yeah.
impact, am I gonna make the same impact? That kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time, it was actually our current superintendent at that time, going back to when I first left the classroom full time and moved to halftime. He had basically said, he's like, one of the things I've learned in my journey to education is I can do something for a year. And if it doesn't work for a year, I'm going to pursue something else. But I can at least try something for a year. And even hearing from others too, of working with students is very rewarding, and you are making an impact on those students that you serve. But moving a little bit out of that space and then working with adults, now you have an opportunity to not just impact the students right within your classroom space, but you can broadly impact even more students across that learning landscape. And so I think that was the powerful piece that kind of helped influence my decision, was the reality of I have an opportunity now to build my capacity of how do I work with adults. I know how to work with 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, and now I know how to work with fifth graders, but what does it mean to actually work with adult learners? And so that provided a good opportunity to keep me growing professionally, but also helped kind of keep driving what started in first grade of trying to push the envelope of how could we continue to push the envelope
Streamline it.
now,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
with adults.
move
So
forward.
yeah,
Farther, faster.
for yeah.
Further,
So
faster.
yeah. So all that like full circle, then like my current role, instructional tech coordinator, and I think others in the state of Iowa and probably beyond have also experienced similar situations with budget cuts. And so that team that I was able to lead, that team of instructional design strategists with a focus of tech and innovation,
Say
or
it all
innovation
again. Say
coach,
it.
right? Right, yeah.
5 times
No, not 5 times. So at that time, that team and I were basically, it was an option to dissolve that team to save some funds across the district. And so I had also been, as I'd mentioned, I either wanted to be full-time in the classroom or full-time out of the classroom. When I moved full-time out of the classroom, I was actually half-time innovation coach and then half-time instructional tech coordinator. So I'd kind of worn two different hats. My innovation coaching, or the tech coaching, however you want to phrase that piece, that was based out of our teacher leadership program. So I was part teaching and learning, and then my other half of my day was funded out of our tech department. So kind of out of the IT side of things, even
Oh
though I
wow.
don't
Okay.
speak I don't speak IT language yet.
Part of that department.
Yep. And so it was really kind of, I think, an opportunity to be a liaison between IT and tech, and then also curriculum and instruction, and trying to speak both languages, and be able to kind of understand what's going on from an infrastructure level, and then how is that impacting curriculum and instruction, and then vice versa. So I was wearing those two hats for a number of years before they eliminated the innovation team, and that allowed me to go full time in my current role of instructional tech coordinator. So that role now, this is year 2 of me being full time in that tech coordinator role. And what in the world does that actually mean? Um, I joke with people that I like to pretend that I really know a lot until they figure out that I don't. But
Oh, that's
I,
not true. That is
I
not.
think it's every day is different. Like, and that's, I think, the joy of it is that some days I have my hands, like this morning I just came from working with a grade of 4th grade teachers, or a team of 4th grade teachers on we've adopted Canvas at the elementary this year, and so it's been a little bit of a learning curve, and so I was able to go work collaboratively with them and grow their capacity of the tool itself, but then already start brainstorming how that could kind of redesign what learning looked like in their
Like,
classroom space. So moved from that of meeting with those teachers to then coming back after that and meeting with our basically our director of curriculum instruction, and our communication director, talking about how we're going to communicate out about this AI curriculum that we have going out to all students throughout the school year this year. So as you can see, it's working with teachers, it's working with district leadership, it's working with IT department. I go here shortly to talk about creating a visualization of computational thinking skills. So we have an initiative where we're working to grow student computational thinking skills in partnership with Digital Promise. And so last year, our 4th grade students used microbits in their energy unit in science to incorporate computer science standards, but also build their computational capacity, computational thinking capacity. And we deployed a survey that we built to have them kind of reflect on their identity as a computational thinker. So our
oh
challenge
wow.
was, can you think about yourself? Because I think a lot of times, even teachers will say this, where like, I'm not a computer scientist, so like,
Right.
I don't feel
How does that
confident.
be? Yeah.
I don't feel confident teaching computer science. And so that computational thinking survey is something that we sent out to the 4th graders to kind of do like a pre and post to see if, after that experience with the microbits in science, if their kind of mindset and belief in themselves had shifted. And so we had actually, the data that we collected based on the survey results, we did see some growth in their mindset around being a computational thinker, which was really cool. So like, after this, we're going to then kind of pivot into trying to scale that to more grades and connect it to Tableau, which is a platform that we have to take lots of data and make it look
Yeah.
pretty and nice. But we're going to look at how can we tie in the demographic data to that, because what we're really after is to find out across our demographics, are there certain um, populations of our learners that are not still seeing themselves as computational thinkers across grade levels, or is there certain populations, is it gender that is, we're seeing more of a shift in their mindset about being a computational thinking a thinker than others. So we're really wanting to disaggregate the data we have by grade, by demographic, and then be able to continue push forward with trying to make it more equitable and
Yep.
empower more of those
I love
students, so
that.
that by the time they get to high school, they're seeing themselves as computer scientists and computational thinkers, so that they can take some of those higher level computer science courses that we've traditionally
Had low
seen
numbers
some.
enrolled,
Yep.
and yeah, try to
Yep.
get more people more confident to join in. So question on that.
Yep.
Is your district, so are you guys integrating computer science within like the core academic classes, or how are you guys approaching that? Because it sounds like you're kind of integrating with science, and now you're going to kind of scale that through, or I guess tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So one of the things we've been trying to do, and this kind of started man, 2016, 2017, probably. We partnered with the Digital Promise on a grant called CT Pathways. And the intent behind that project or that grant was to develop a CT Pathways toolkit. And the intent behind that was that any district that's looking to amplify computational thinking in their district would have a roadmap or framework of looking at this blueprint of where to go. And so through that partnership, it really kind of pushed us to look at equity across our district and start to look at our high school level computer science courses to find out, like, why is it that we have students that are traditionally kind of the marginalized populations of students? Like, why do we have underrepresented populations not showing up in those classes, and what can we do about it as a district? And that's what kind of led to this back mapping of, hey, how do we build student capacity early and often and build their mindset so that they feel confident of being able to do hard things and do that computational thinking or computer science. So what we have and what I was looking, I'll try to multitask here, and this is sometimes me struggling to
I was just gonna
multitask,
say,
but
do you have something you can show us? Because like
so it's in the early stages. It's not live yet. The goal is it'll be kind of a roadmap. Our website, people here in Iowa City are awesome. So this is kind of the computational thinking website that we're in the process of building out. And so these are our 4 computational thinking skills that we're focused on. And with each of these, what's going to happen is each of these grade levels, you'll be able to click in and see explicitly what we're doing in each of those grade levels. So with this is again a mock-up of the page that we'll have that will then allow anyone internal or external to be able to click on kindergarten, for example, and see exactly what's happening in kindergarten. So that's kind of the launch pad for the work that we're doing. In terms of what's happening grade specific. So system wide, what we're doing is computer science standards are taught within our library class. So K5, we have computer science that teacher librarians are embedding in instruction when they have students during computer science, or sorry, during library time. In some other grade levels, we're continuing to partner with Grantwood AEA to kind of build out some of the additional options so that 4th grade, we're embedding microbits into their energy unit. So in the past, they had to take light bulbs and connect it to a battery and power the light bulb. So now we're incorporating the microbit as an opportunity for them to power the LEDs and have to write code to turn those on and off, as well as power a fan and figure out just some of the same concepts that were in the science unit, but now we're
still
just
learning the
supplement.
content, but now,
Yep.
through that
Yep.
vehicle. That's very cool.
Yep. So we got that in 4th grade. 5th grade, we're looking at their living systems unit in science to embed, again, the microbits, because we have the microbits. So we looked at, hey, can we use the light sensor? And does light play in a role in the growth of a plant? So if we put a plant in a dark room and we use that light sensor, can we dictate or find some data that will help us understand the impact of light versus non-light on the growth of a plant? So we're trying to embed the computer science concepts into those. 6th grade, we have it going in their math this year. So we are incorporating code.org. We have a couple different units in there that we are going to embed in the math class. So 4th grade science, 5th grade science, 6th grades in math. 3rd grade, we're looking at incorporating it into math. And then in kindergarten, we also had a small team of kindergarten teachers go to a training over the summer for Tiny Techies with New Co.
Love Tiny Techies.
So we have that kindergarten team that's going to try out the Tiny Techies this year with the goal that ideally we'd be able to kind of scale that to be K1, 2. So long term, the goal is to continue to find ways to embed it in curriculum already that exists within our district so that it's not an add-on, and that way it is something that teachers see the connection already to the things that they're already doing. So that was a lot of information.
No, but I love that. It's like big picture. Like, this isn't just hacking the class. This is like, we're hacking the school, and we're being really intentional about how we design things and how we make those connections. I love that so much. And as soon as your website is live, definitely, if I can have access, I would love to share it out to the audience, because I'm sure they're like, I want to know. But yeah, that's amazing. And honestly, everything you've just said, I feel like you've really painted a picture of what it means to coordinate. And I love that you're using data to drive some of your decision making pertains to moving the bar or hacking the class or being innovative in the classroom. I definitely sense the tech ninja because everything you said, you can just tell like is connected to something else. And like you kind of described, you're the liaison between that to see like, well, how does that fit and how can we be strategic to move the bar? And I think we need thinkers like that in a system if we're really truly going to not just hack the class that one time in that one project, but like systemically, are we going to move the bar and keep moving the bar so that disenfranchised groups of people or, the students that are typically underrepresented in these classes are actually getting what they need. So I'm like incredibly like inspired by everything you just said. I had a few more questions just to tap or to unpack with you. We're
Yeah,
going to unpack
right.
the layers as we were saying. Um, and we don't have to go deeply in this. I know I almost feel like I'm hear too much about it, but I did want to touch base with you on AI just because you are such a strategic thinker. And I know schools and teachers and leaders are asking these questions about AI, but what are you guys doing as far as working with teachers and AI, maybe even touch on policy a little bit. What's happening over in your district with AI?
Yeah. No, it is. It's such a hot topic, and I struggle to stay up with it too. So I'm just imagining what the reality is for classroom teachers too, with all the amazing things that they have to do on a daily basis and trying to wrangle another
Another
emerging
new
technology.
thing that
Yeah.
I can use. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of our journey last year, we were really looking at how do we ensure that we are aligning board policy with generative AI. And so, part of that reality was there's a lot of districts that were looking to build standalone AI policies, but we really wanted to ground it in what existing policy we already had. So, we spent some time reviewing our current policy
Oh,
and
that's
mapping out, like,
huh.
all right, in our policy, for example, like we already have a bullying and harassment piece in our board policy. And so, one of the concerns about generative AI is, are students going to use generative AI to create deep fakes or whatever to bully or harass someone else? So in terms of having to identify a standalone AI policy about you may not use generative AI to bully or harass someone, can we just incorporate that into our existing policy?
Yeah.
And bullying and harassment is not acceptable using any of these modalities. So we spent a lot of time just looking back at board policy. We honestly didn't make a ton of changes. I think two of the significant ones was making sure that we have age appropriate training for all students K-12 on safety when using generative AI resources,
I
which
love
I'll
it.
unpack a little bit more about that. The other one was about ensuring that AI tools and resources are vetted, which is a monumental task, and we're definitely
I was
not
just gonna
experts
say
on
that.
that. Yeah, yeah, it's we have a workflow that we've set up with software vetting. So we have kind of a workflow. There are paid solutions out there, as other districts realize like budgets are tight, and so we had to
Right.
kind of think in house. How can we automate this in-house? And so why not use generative AI to assist actually developing all the formulas you need to make all the spreadsheets talk back and forth? So
Oh
we
my.
have a software vetting workflow that basically is triggered by a Google form. So any teacher can submit it. The curriculum coordinator of the subject that resource ties to the most will get the initial approval. They'll have the evaluation that they look through. If they approve it, they submit another Google form, which then triggers it to go to our tech department. If they deny it, it's automated to go send the reply back to the teacher and the administrator saying, hey, this request is denied for these reasons. If it does make it to tech and whatnot, then the tech department will review it for data and privacy concerns and cybersecurity. If we approve it, same kind of process. It will automatically send the people a confirmation, hey, it's been approved, or hey, it's been denied. This is the reason why. And then we just have a master list that says these are the approved ones, these are the denied ones, these are the in review process. So again,
I love the transparency there. I think that's awesome. Like so that
yeah,
teachers know like, oh, these have been vetted and they're on the okay to use list. That's going to help
yep,
them find it. Quick question on that. Since
yeah.
you do see that workflow and you see like what's coming in and what's coming out, what are some, just because I'm curious, like what are some go-to ones that have been vetted successfully and are in use right now in your district?
Yeah. So as far as it's not just generative AI either, it's basically any educational technology that's going to be used by teachers needs to be vetted. So, for example, we quickly realized, oh, microbits use make code. So we should probably vet make code to make sure that make code is okay for
Yeah.
students to be using. So part of that is we're gonna have to retroactively go back and look at some of our current
Some stuff. Yeah.
solutions that we're using. One of the ones that we do have vetted and approved is Magic School. It's one that we approved a while ago. They were one of the first to sign a student data privacy agreement with us to just make sure that we're protecting student data and privacy. So that one is something that definitely gets a lot of use in terms of other platforms. We're still in the process of adding those to this vetting list. Part of the challenge right now, as others know, with the start of the school year, there's a lot of stuff that you're trying to tackle. And so some of those requests have kind of taken a back burner at the moment to get caught up with all the other
Right.
logistics and needs to make sure school's off and running smoothly. So it's ever evolving. We're getting lots of feedback about it and some of the things that we need to change to make it a better process still, which it's going to be an iterative process for us to make sure that we're responsive to
Learn as
the
you go.
needs of, yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's new. It's new to everyone. Like you just said, it's kind of like, well, we're navigating it on our own as learners, but then trying to lead the ship on it too. So question on that, are you using AI in your work, in your workflows? Like you just kind of mentioned how you kind of put together your own process. What are you using?
yeah, so I think it depends on the day. There's certain days where I
Oh,
give up on it quickly because I'm like, you know what? I like the time I'm going to spend here refining my output to get what I want. I could have already written what I wanted, but a lot of times I'll use it to kind of just brainstorm a starting point for a lot of
yeah.
things, or even a lot of times where I uh, want critique on something I wrote. So I'm in the process of writing a blog post. And so I felt like I struggled through a paragraph. So I took my paragraph and threw it into the AI and said, all right, like give me 3 different ways that I could write this in a more professional tone. Now write it again in a more casual tone. And then just was able to pick pieces out that I felt sounded like my writing, or
Right.
just pulled out the like this sentence was definitely better worded the way that AI was able to reword it. So I think almost using it to augment my workflows as opposed to like replace the
Replacing.
workflow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Love that.
So
Same,
yeah.
same.
So the AI policy stuff, yes, definitely worked on AI policy last year. We also worked on some student guidelines and teacher guidelines. And so we also worked on the curriculum that I mentioned. So
Yeah,
the
that was okay. So you have a curriculum that you're going to
yes.
implement system wide for kids and using
Yep.
AI.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm happy to share that, and I'll also share the link with you afterwards. Like part of it is everyone's navigating this for the first time. So it's a
Oh, I
one
love
pager. I'll kind of highlight the pieces of it. So we've broken it down by grade level bands. So we have K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12. As you can see here, we've kind of outlined where these lessons are going to be taught. So K5, they'll be taught in library. 6, 8, they're going to be taught in homeroom. And then 9, 12 will be taught in advisory. So those are chunks of times that the teachers will be facilitating these lessons. All of them are kind of formatted similarly, where the first lesson in the 3-part series is about AI basics. Then we go into the potential of it and then also the pitfalls of it. And so with these, just to give kind of a representation of what these look like. So with this, this is the example of the K2 lesson. So all students in K2 will get this lesson to start. So most of them start with an essential question and also some learning targets. So we have some learning targets. We have some vocab that we'll use with those students. I'll just go ahead and put this so it's a little bit larger. So you kind of see we have different kind of key pieces that we're going to talk about with this. The machine learning piece is the one big piece that we want them to understand. And then also understand the difference about AI versus generative AI. And so we have a video, hopefully a kid appropriate video. We've kind of vetted it, and it's one that seems to align most with what even my experience teaching first grade. I'm like, yeah, this one's way better than some of the other videos that we found. So it does a good job talking about AI, but also then generative AI. And then after that, it always does that. All right. So then we talk a little bit about trying to connect it back to the students' own lives to make it relevant to their reality of like, oh, hey, Amazon, I know that logo. It's always on my doorstep. Mom and dad always order it all the time, right? So then
Guilty.
just right, guilty, yes. And just trying to highlight the fact that, hey, you know what, the recommendations for you is actually driven by your past purchase history, and so, or your past search history. So making the connection of those AI powered recommendations. Same thing with this logo. These are actually the funny part of this is when I was actually building this, I just went and pulled my own kids like recommendations on YouTube. So obviously my son was impressed with the slam ball tournament, but also Mr. Beast. Apparently Mr. Beast is Mr. Popular. So
Super popular.
this,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Netflix too. So obviously my son was into the Lego movie and home. So just trying to reinforce with the kids, you're interacting already in a world powered by AI. So how do we make sure that we are critical consumers? And so this activity, the Apple Banana, is a kind of an opportunity to get analog and digital at the same time. So we're going to have all the kindergarten through second grade students, when they do this lesson, they're each going to draw. We'll divide them in half. You're going to draw a picture of an apple. You're going to draw a picture of a banana. After they draw their picture of the apple banana, we'll actually train an AI system. So you can see here just kind of the hopefully kid-friendly approach to showing, hey, the AI large language model itself is trained on lots of data. And so in this instance, we're going to train the machine on apples and bananas. And so then we're going to use our camera to then determine, is it an apple or banana? And so the teachers will actually use the teachable machine from Google to be able to actually program the machine so that it understands if it is an apple or banana, and then they'll actually test it. So they'll actually get to
Oh,
see
that's
how they can take their data and apply it to the teachable machine, and then see the actual product of the data being trained, or the data training that AI system. So with that, then we'll connect it back to kind of a larger product that has even more images, so they understand, like, we just trained it on a very small subset of data that you all drew right now, but this is an example of large scale use of it. And so then just talking a little bit about how the AI that has the data that's trained on the human tries to draw a picture, and then it tries to guess what the human drew based on its knowledge and data that it was trained on. So that's kind of what the lesson looks like. They kind of follow the similar pattern. Just for the sake of time, I won't go through all of them. Like I said, I'll share the link with you. I have put the Creative Commons license on it. It's something that we understand people are navigating it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So we encourage people to use it. If there's feedback that anyone has, we would welcome all feedback. The reality is, next year we're going to have to revise these, knowing that the world's
Things
going to
change.
change.
Yep.
Yeah. And so right now we just started with the grade level band. So I don't want, if I'm a kindergartner this year, I don't want the kindergartner next year to do the same exact lesson in first grade and then the same lesson in second grade. So we're going to try to refine these over the course of this year.
Yep.
So that way it's kind of building on year after year. So I will, like I said, I'll share that link, and then you can share
That
it out
would
with
be
people.
awesome. Yeah, I think the audience would really appreciate that. I know I'm already thinking of all the schools. I'm like, I need to connect all these people to this because they are also looking for solutions. And it's something that they cannot, ignore because it's here, right? It's
Yep.
like you just said, it's very, it's in our day-to-day lives, whether we realize it or not. I'm even thinking, like, there are some adults that I'm like, I should give this to a few people just so that they have a better understanding in general, because we never got that learning. We're adults now, and we're just sort of like responding to these things. And it's kind of incredible to see how it can improve our lives too. So we definitely want to embrace it, in my opinion. So I have one final question. I know I've taken quite a bit of your time. Thank you for being here. This was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, excellent, and I can't wait to share with others what you've done here for your district. But I do want to just kind of, there's a question I always ask people. I'm going to kind of intertwine it with two different things, but on one hand, I want to know what motivates you, because clearly you are very connected. You see the world in kind of this neat way, and you're making these connections to make learning opportunities for kids, and helping teachers to do that. So on one hand, you are a change agent and you're highly motivated. And then on the other part of the question is, so what motivates you? But then I want to kind of play into what is your educational hill to die on? And I always ask this because I feel like we all have this thing that we're like super passionate about. Like if it comes up at dinner, you're like, I am going to put my 2 cents into this because I have a thing or two to say about that, and I have experience on that. So, I mean, it could be a two-part question. They might intertwine, but you're highly motivated. You are the board president of our state conference. Got to drop that out. Go to iTech, everyone. We invite everyone, not just Iowa people. Come on over. We have a statewide technology conference. Andrew will be there. Come say hi. But there's my plug. Brian, edit this. No, don't edit this, Brian. Um, the you do a lot. So you're running a conference, you're the president of this board, you're doing these amazing things, building these great AI lessons. How do you stay motivated, and what's your hill to die on?
Yeah, no, those are great questions. I think, part of it, like the motivation piece, I think when I stop and think about it, it probably goes back to the journey that probably sports has played a little bit in that. And I think others might be able to relate, but I think part of the reality is yeah, I was fortunate to go to the University of Iowa and play football there, but my journey didn't start there. I had an opportunity to go to Division II school down in Missouri. And so after a semester there, I gave up a scholarship because I was like, this is not a good fit. And so I came back to the University of Iowa. I had to walk on, I had to do all the things. And it was an opportunity to have to, like, if you're not going to grow and get better, like, you might as well just not even show up. And so the reality was that I was able to continue to refine that craft over the 3-4 years that I was there, to the final point where my senior year I was able to earn a scholarship. So I went from having a scholarship to giving that up because I realized, like, I'm not gonna get any better in this setting. And so pushing myself to that point, and then just being surrounded by a bunch of people of, like, there's always an opportunity to get better. And so I think that part transpired or translated into the classroom too, of the reality of kids, and especially first graders. And that was probably the launching point for a lot of it, was the fact that, don't tell me that first graders can't do things. Like, I challenge it, go for it. I will prove you wrong. And that was my goal too, of like, no, like, these kids can do things. It's the adults that are the barrier right now. And so I don't want to be the barrier. I want to be the facilitator of that. And so I think that's been
And
ongoing, right? Like, I think that's been the driving force year after year, of just like, there's constant improvement. And if we can get 1% better each day, that's going to lead to some significant results down the road. And so I think that's probably been the motivator, of just like that growth mindset piece, which we try so hard to get students to embody, and also adults too. And I feel like adults are a little bit more reluctant at times to embrace that growth mindset, because change is hard. It requires effort. And so I think that's the motivating part. I think my hill to die on is the students. I think the piece that gets me fired up is when we talk about designing learning, but we're unwilling to design for the learner. And so, and
that's a huge disconnect, right?
right,
Like, you're
yeah,
not
and so
thinking about your end user. Like, what are we doing then? Yeah.
yeah, and so I think that's the hill to die on, is just what are the ways that I can amplify student voice, and like, how do we center students in the learning process? We talk about keeping the human in the loop and centering the human in the use of generative AI, but in reality, like, when we're designing learning, the student should be the center of that learning experience. And so I think part of that, in a case in point, is this year we've sent out Canvas expectations. We've adopted Canvas K-12. Prior to this, we adopted Canvas for 9-12 and then 7-12, clear back to 2018. This is the first year that we've deployed standardized expectations, and that also we've deployed templates. The templates were designed specifically with the student in mind. And so there's a lot of reluctance to use the courses as is with the templates, because it's not as convenient as what was the past. But the intent behind the design process of these templates and expectations was the student. And so that's the narrative that I've been trying to brand out, is I'm like, I get it's an inconvenience a little bit, and it's going to force you to change, but we're not designing for a convenient experience for you. It's the student that we're trying to remove barriers for, so they can be successful. And so while that plane doesn't always land as smoothly
Right,
as you
right.
would expect,
People
right?
work. It's people work.
But
Yep.
yeah, and so I think part of it too is just, how do you push that message out, and how do you constantly keep the student at the center? And I think that's part of, like, Iowa City is all in for all kids. And so I think that's kind of that
Love that
constant, like,
one.
how do we keep focusing on our end user, and how do we make sure that that is the centralized focus in all the work that we do? So I would say, yeah, that's my hill to die on, is that, when there's reluctance to change, how do we shift that narrative to, all right, is this a benefit to students, or is it a benefit to you? Is it an inconvenience for you, or is it an inconvenience for students? And how do we keep centering the students? So yeah, I would say that's my hill to die on, that I get fired up about, of we design lots for students, but how often do we actually ask their input on things? And they are so honest. So
Yes.
yeah, and the piece too, and I didn't throw it in, I'll share the link too, but like, our student guidelines that we created around AI use, case in point again here, is that last year, at the end of last year, I went out to one of our high school classes and shared the student guidelines. I'm like, you all are going to be the ones that have to abide by these. Tear them apart. You are not going to hurt my feelings. I want you to destroy these and tell me how awful they are. And they did. It was great. I loved it. I was like, this is
They
perfect. Like,
did.
oh yeah. So I think that's like,
Right.
again, how do we constantly, um, I think sometimes we don't give full credit to the students, of where, like, they know more than what we probably give them props for or credit for.
Yeah.
And so let's lean into their voices, but also let's try to empower them with the resources that they need to be successful in such a ever evolving world that they're going to live in. So
No doubt.
yeah.
Well, absolutely. I think you embody the all in for all kids, like from everything you just said. So that is amazing. Thank you so much, Andrew. I won't take
Yeah.
any more of your time, but for everyone listening, how do people follow Andrew or get in touch with the things that you're doing and as you share things out? Like, are you on social? Can you share your social or where can they find out more?
Yeah. One of these days I'll get back on to like trying to have a blog. But what I've actually found, honestly, um, I've moved more to, and I don't post a ton on LinkedIn, but I have been an extreme lurker on LinkedIn. I found there's just
Yes.
so many great um,
Same.
minds and sharing and resources and just rabbit holes to go down. So LinkedIn, yeah, is a great one. I'm still on X or Twitter if you're still holding out for the name change. That's just
We all
a_underscore Fenstermaker on X or Twitter, but LinkedIn, I don't know if there's a whole lot of other Andrew Fenstermakers out there on LinkedIn.
I think it's just you. I don't think there's a
Might just
single
be.
other one. Just kidding.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm happy to connect. I'm also happy people can reach out via email too. I'm not opposed to that too, so I can share all that stuff in
Yeah.
the follow up notes too. So, yeah,
Awesome.
happy to connect and grow.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and week. And thanks, Andrew. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Laura.